I know how Bailey thinks. He buys me presents all the time, too. He's really generous. And we pulled up to these Japanese blueberry trees, right, Bailey?
Yeah, they're Japanese blueberry trees.
That he was looking at, and he had just gotten back from Epcot. And he's like, "Oh, mom, you know what you can do with these trees?"
Hmm.
And I thought, I'm getting trees because that girl got boots.
Welcome to the Landscape Cafe, brought to you with support from Fort Myers Garden Service, maintaining and protecting business and residential landscapes. Visit fortmyersgardenservice.com or call 239-990-7494.
All right. Hey, guys. Today we have Robyn joining us. Robyn is Robyn Peer, which is my mother. She is going to be talking a little bit about what she does for us, Pure Landscaping and Fort Myers Garden Service, and as well as Fertilizer Pro, all three of our companies, what she does with us on a day-to-day basis, kind of her perspective on what her position has evolved to, a little bit about the school district and working there. She's worked there for over 30 years. Additionally, about a little bit, I guess you could say, we're going to dive into her slice of paradise, her landscaping that we've done for her, and a couple little things. It'll be just a natural conversation so you guys can get introduced to Robyn, what she does with the business currently, and get to know her a little bit. Hey, Mom, how are you doing?
Hey, Bailey, I'm great. Thank you.
Good deal. So, first, I just wanted to talk a little bit about your slice of pie at your house. And now it is beautiful, at least in the front. We've still got the back as a backyard's going to be a working piece. Tell me a little bit about your yard. How has that evolved? And what does that always look like for you?
Well, our yard has always been a challenge. We have three boys in the house, and there was always a truck or mini trucks and boats and a basketball court that everybody wanted to play on, which was really just the street. And it was always very active, but the yard was not so great. And when you pulled up, I didn't really pay attention to it because I was busy with the boys, and I'd rather the boys be outside playing or Bailing and his brother in the backyard digging great big holes with all the neighborhood kids. So it was never a priority. And then when Bailey started this business and he was getting into designing. So he started with a truck and a lawnmower. And he had a plan and a vision. So I was like, well, what about our yard, Bailey? And Bailey had said, okay, we'll get something done. But my husband, he was not really having it. He doesn't do change well. And so one day Bailey comes running in the house and says, Mom, I just had Tom spray the stuff so all the grass is going to die. And I was like, oh, Bailey. And he's like, I know, Michael, you do what you want to do and then you ask forgiveness later.
Mm-hmm.
And he always gets over it. But it's hard to get him to that first stage.
Mm-hmm. And for the
Bailey,
record, it was mostly weeds and bahia, so it wasn't like it
yes.
killed anything super nice.
No, it was, yes, it was just, it was nothing special at all. So Bailey went out of town that weekend when it really started to work, and Michael comes in and says, what did Bailey do to the yard? And I said, Bailey didn't do anything. It was him. And he kept looking out front. Now, I've got to tell y'all, he's from Massachusetts. And so he calls our grass down here crabgrass. And he'd stand at the door and look at the grass. And then he'd look back at me and he'd look at the grass. And he said, Bailey did. What did Bailey put on this yard? And I said, Bailey didn't put anything on the yard. And pretty soon it is all dirt. And it's like Oh, Bailey. And Michael wouldn't let him put any grass down. And so we put, oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing. We
Pine
put
straw
pine straw down. Yes. So the
on
yard
the
was
entire
covered.
yard.
Yes. It was covered in pine straw. And I think there was one Google Earth shot of it with it all pine straw. And
Thankfully, that's gone now. It's to the updated version.
yes, yes. And then he and Michael went back and forth. He put grass down and then it died. So it was a bit of a tug of war between Bailey and Michael. And it was fun for the neighbors to watch. It wasn't fun for me. It was a little bit frustrating. And then Bailey had a vision about becoming a designer as well as just taking care of general landscaping. And I'd see some of the work that he had done. I was like, oh, wow, that's beautiful. And then I began to feel like the shoemaker's child about he made everybody's yard look beautiful and mine was not so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And one day he came home and surprised me. He had a plan and it was gorgeous. And I didn't think it could happen. I didn't think it would happen. But he put down the most gorgeous lawn, the most gorgeous beds that were just eye-popping from the street, something that he would like to advertise. So it was just beautiful. And then he put in lights, and I would drive up in the daytime and it would be like, oh my gosh, this is my yard. I have a gorgeous yard, this landscaping. And I was just amazed. And then at night, when we drove up to the house and there were lights along with the landscaping, I still wanted to pinch myself like, this is my yard. This is my house at night lit up. I honestly never believed that it would be that beautiful. And then the neighbors started driving by and saying, wow, that looks great. That's really pretty. And I still, to this day, when I walk out and look at my yard, it makes me smile. And I never dreamed that your landscape could make you that happy, but it does. So it's been just a fun journey from the beginning, from the struggles to now having a beautiful yard. And when it doesn't look beautiful, then I get in trouble because if something dies. But it's been a real learning process, and it's been a lot of fun because it's so different from teaching, and it's been really great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely love the way it has come out now, and it's cool to know that we've made that place look pretty sweet. And it's been through a couple of revisions. We've, just like with anything, we get the base, we laid zoysia down. We did a couple of raised planter beds. There was also a funky wall that I kind of incorporated by doing a little mound in front of it. It had some plants kind of falling off of it. It's almost hidden now. But we did some creative stuff to touch up some of the older and outdated styles that were on the front. And my favorite addition, sorry, just one more. I got to share this part. My favorite addition is what we did in front, right where the mailbox is. And so there's a mailbox in the middle, and we have two Japanese blueberry trees in a cone shape. It's almost shaped as if a Christmas tree. And those are nice, full and thick. And then we have flowers around the base of it. And then the mailbox sits in between. And it's a cool wooden mailbox that I built a long time ago. And Eric, for Mother's Day, our manager for Fort Myers Garden Service, got my mom a beautiful wooden trellis and a really cool, I don't even know what the name of the plant is, but there's a really cool vine that has great foliage and beautiful purple flowers that sits right behind the mailbox in between the two blueberry trees. And that was just an addition that we did along the way. We didn't even see that vision at first. And so that's actually my favorite part of the art. It's out by the road. It's really cool.
I've got to tell a funny story about that. we were out looking for a job. We were scouting trees, and we're at a nursery that's a tree nursery. And that's pretty cool if you've never been to a tree nursery before, because some are, small, some are really huge. You get to see the different stages of the vegetation. And the person who was driving us around had on these really cool boots because, that's her job. She's got to take people out in the field to look at the trees. And I said, "Oh, I love those boots." And she said, "You know what? Thank you. My son got me these and they're perfect. I can walk around out here. They're kind of girly but they still are functional." And I was thinking, I know how Bailey thinks. He buys me presents all the time too. He's really generous. And we pulled up to these Japanese blueberry trees, right, Bailey?
Yeah, they're Japanese blueberry trees
that he was looking at, and he had just gotten back from Epcot. And he's like, "Oh, mom, you know what you can do with these trees?" And I thought, I'm getting trees because that girl got boots, and I know how Bailey thinks. And he said, "Mom, I'm picturing these two Japanese blueberry trees in front of your house, and you wouldn't believe the things they did at Epcot. They can be, however you want them shaped." And I thought, "Oh, I'm getting 2 trees." And he said, "I think I'm going to get these 2. So I had no vision, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, Michael didn't like change. What's going to happen now? And I did get the trees. They put them in. They're gorgeous. They incorporated flowers that have been changed out. We also, with Fort Myers Garden Service, we have a flower program where you can get your flowers changed out every 4 months, right, Bailey? Or 4 times a year.
Yeah, 4 times a year. So each quarter, Brittany from Fort Myers Garden Service, she runs that program.
And I love flowers. I'm really good at killing flowers. And I used to put in little flowers. But the Fort Myers Garden Service, the way that they staggered the plants and the colors, and it was like, I've always wanted something like that. I didn't know how to do it. I tried to do it on my own, but they incorporated the beds, and the mail lady, every time she comes up, she says, "This is my favorite part. I love these flowers." And I just got a new set of flowers put in by Brittany, and they're pink and white begonias. And
nice.
Yeah, very pretty.
That is awesome. Yeah, she's always updating me on those. She's also your gardener, keeps up with the rest of the yard. Had a little bit of a hiccup after the hurricane, but now we got your yard looking back in shape, which is nice. One day we'll do the backyard. The backyard still is a little bit of a mess like the front yard, but with due time.
Well, now I have grandbabies, so you never know. We might have to do it around children.
Right, there you go. Make a little playground back there.
Yep. So she has a thing to remember when she was a little girl hanging out at her Gammy's house, and excited. So now my vision has changed. And Bailey, that's thanks to you. You have shown me you have such a natural ability to not only visualize it, but to draw it out and make it come true. And that's been really cool to watch watch you grow. And who knew you had such talents?
For sure. I think Katie's taught me a lot on that. I feel like I've always had a little bit of that, but Katie has helped me bring that out a lot. And that's been a really fun part of the business for me, is really honing in on those skills. And I love doing that beside Katie. It's been a fun journey. I want to talk a little bit about, we'll get into, the school district and some of that stuff, but I want to transition a little bit to, let's talk about Bob Cook. Let's talk about his course. Let's talk about FNGLA. Bob is great. And
he is terrific.
I really love his course. I love his energy and his attitude towards the industry. I was interviewing Joshua, one of our new technicians for Fort Myers Garden Service, and I was just talking to him about Bob Cook, and I was like, Bob Cook's great. He's this, he's that. And I was like, you know what? One day, my goal is to be similar to Bob Cook and be able to maybe teach some of these courses. And here at Pure Landscaping, Fort Myers Garden Service, we think really highly of him. And he does a FNGLA course. He does it 2 times a year, once a year in Briarcliff, which is in Fort Myers, and then also another time in Naples. Each of those courses are 16 weeks long, and they're accompanied with the FNGLA book, and he has a wealth of material and knowledge that he shares over those courses, and it is totally worth the investment. I loved going to class with him, and I also, every year since we've gone to class, we've sent 4 to 6 people each year he has in Fort Myers. So we love to have our people be continue ed, and even Robyn, she's not necessarily in the field or doing sales, but she also does handle some customer service stuff and some bookkeeping and overall. I want everybody to have a great understanding of the landscape industry. We're a small family business, and that has been really cool for almost all of our staff to go through that. Mom, you want to share, you went through a round for the class with, I think Chester was there, Will McFarland, Austin, who we didn't know at the time, but now do, Cole, and who else was in that course? Angel. You went, and then yourself. So we had quite a few people going to that course. You want to share a little bit about your story on the learning course of that?
I would. It was a really terrific experience. As a teacher, I am a natural in the classroom. I love to study now. And at one time, I had a speech impediment when I was little. And my name is Robyn, and we moved a lot. So every time I moved someplace new, I had to say Robyn I was so embarrassed, and I couldn't say my R's. And school was a struggle for me. So I knew that it might be a struggle for some of our colleagues that were going. And the book is super big, and it's from the University of Florida. The course was developed, and it is a bit intimidating. Not only is it intimidating, but you've worked all day, and then you're going to sit in a classroom for 3 hours with some pretty technical information. So I was a little bit nervous, but I'm also, I don't know if Bailey mentioned this or not, but I'm kind of like the teen mom. One of his business consultants referred to me as a collie that, jumps up on you and cheers you on, which he said was a compliment, but I don't know. What do you think, Bailey?
Yeah, he was good because they kind of harvest the sheep and keep everybody going in the same direction, keep everybody together. Yeah, it was good. It was a good analogy.
The Landscape Cafe is a production of Pure Landscaping and the Niche Podcast Network. Learn more about Bailey, Katie, and the team by visiting purelandscaping.com. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. And don't forget, the best place to rate or follow the show is at thelandscapecafe.com. Thank you for listening in. Stay tuned for the next part in this conversation.